Hi, my name is Mercy, and welcome to The Dish. I'm here with Jeremy. And so, how was your break?
Well, it was good. I spent a lot of time with my family, watched a few TV shows, and just had a pretty good time.
Really, me too. I really love this show, Supernatural.
Oh, what's that about?
It's about two brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester, and their mom died when Sam was 6 months old and when Dean was 4 years old.
Well, what happened to the mom? How did she die?
She burned on the ceiling of Sam's nursery. And after the incident, their father became obsessed with finding the thing that killed their mother.
Does he know what he's hunting for?
Yes, it's a demon. And Dean was trained by his father to protect Sam, like as a soldier. And Sam found out later on about all this, the supernatural stuff, and but Sam didn't really want anything to do with the supernatural world.
So why did he want a normal life over the life of his brother and father?
He wanted it to. Felt like he wasn't gonna fit in. Like he didn't like it. He wanted to have family, have kids. He wanted to go to college. He felt like his father was just controlling him way too much. And Dean is sort of the black sheep of the family. He's a troublemaker, and he went to Stanford. Like that's where Sam went to college to get him back. And basically after that, they just kept following in their father's footsteps. And so they hunted monsters, demons, fallen gods, and they're trying to save as many people as they can.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
What happened most recently on the show?
In the recent episode, there's this being Amara. She is called the Darkness, and she's God's sister.
So what made her be called the Darkness? Like what led to that nickname?
Well, God needed something to put all of the evil in, so he put it in her, and he casted her out of heaven.
Okay, so she's like a Pandora's box kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in this episode, she showed her true power by killing a whole group of people. And Sam was having these visions about how to defeat her that he thought were from God, and he wanted to find a way to get to Lucifer's cage because that was what the dreams were about. And so he got help from Crowley, who's a demon, and his mother, Crowley's mother, Rowena, who's a witch. And they went into hell and they opened Lucifer's cage. And basically the episode ends with Sam being stuck in Lucifer's cage. And while Sam was doing all the stuff with Lucifer, Dean found Amara. And he kissed her because they have this sort of relationship, not a romantic one, but he was trying to figure out what the hold she had on him was.
Wow, that sounds like a really interesting show.
Yes.
Wow.
And I think we have a clip for that.
Is this what you want? I asked God for a way to beat the darkness, and I was in the cage with Lucifer. And made the way.
I am your only hope. Supernatural mid-season finale next Wednesday, 9/8.
Yeah, that looks like a really intense show.
Yeah.
Looks good.
So what shows are you into?
Oh, well, I've been watching Walking Dead recently. I've been watching that since it started back in around 2010 up till now.
What's it about?
Well, it's about zombie apocalypse and how it's the story of Rick Grimes, who's a sheriff in Atlanta, and he's with at the beginning of the show, he's with his partner Shane, and they're in a police chase, so they're chasing these group of men in a car, and they end up flipping their car and they go off the road, and it ends up in a shootout, and Rick ends up getting shot in the chest with a shotgun, and Shane is there to help him out. He calls an ambulance and gets him to the hospital and everything, but Rick still winds up in a coma. And in that coma, I guess, the disease started spreading to cause the apocalypse. And he woke up from the coma in this just horrible hospital setting, just like walking through, everything's destroyed, and he sees like this chained up door that says, "Don't open, dead inside," with like a hand coming through it, kind of reaching for him absent-mindedly. And as he gets out of the hospital, he runs right back to his neighborhood to try and find his wife and kid, Carl. And he doesn't find him at the house, but he does find someone in this neighborhood named Morgan, who, to get him to kind of calm down, he hits him right in the face with a shovel and knocks him out. But he takes him in and gives him food and kind of educates him on how the world works now. And
So who is Morgan? Like,
Morgan, he was a father of a kid named Dwayne and a husband to a woman, and I forget her name, but she ended up getting bitten, and she turned into a zombie at the beginning of the apocalypse, and that just left Morgan and his son Dwayne in the house. And while they're caring for Rick, like I said, they educate him on how the world works now, and they go to the King's Cross police station, which is where or King County Police Station, which is where Rick was. He was the sheriff of that. And they go and they get weapons and clothes and everything. And Rick and Morgan part ways, but they keep walkie-talkies to keep in contact with each other. And so Rick decides to go to Atlanta to try and find his wife and kid. And he ends up finding them eventually outside of the town in a group of survivors. And it ends up that Shane was having an affair with Lori, which is Rick's wife. So they're best friends, and kind of that happened.
And how did the affair affect the relationship with Rick?
It kind of strained both the relationships with Rick and Lori and Rick and Shane. Rick and Shane a lot more so. They ended up fighting a lot, and eventually in around season 3, it led to a standoff between Shane and Rick, which concluded in Shane's death. Mm-hmm. But what I really like about the show is that it focuses more on the drama than it does on the zombie apocalypse action. It's not like a Michael Bay film where everything's blowing up. It's more of a show that focuses on the relationship between the people in the apocalypse and the strain that's put on them.
And how did the group get as far as they got?
They just really stuck together and survived throughout, and it was really hard. There were a lot of casualties, a lot of people lost, and a lot of people found, and they've been through several different locations to try and stay alive, and they've just kept on the move, really.
What is Alexandria?
Well, Alexandria is that's where the most recent season started off. The group ended up in a place called Alexandria, which is kind of a town that was, it was a new development with a bunch of buildings, and an architect that lived there put up walls around the place when the apocalypse started, and that's kind of kept everyone that's in there sheltered. So they don't really know what life is like outside of the walls. But they decided to take in Rick and his group because they do know what it's like and they know how to survive. So they thought it was a good idea to have kind of another perspective to help them survive inside the walls. And it kind of led to it's like a confrontation between the two groups, like people, like the Alexandrians and Rick's group. But at the mid-season finale where we left off, Carl, who's Rick's son, is being stalked by another kid, and Rick killed that kid's father because he was like a drunk. He beat his wife and his kids, and he was just a really bad guy. So they ended up in a fight, and Rick killed him. And Morgan came back in season 6, and he was reintroduced as like a new man, new character. And Carol, who's another woman in the show, her and Morgan are like foils. So Morgan wants to be peaceful, and there was this group that attacked Alexandria, and Morgan kind of took one of them in and wants to change him and make him a better person. But Carol thinks that the best decision would be to just kill him because he's just a really bad guy. They attacked the town, and you should tie up the loose ends. But what ends up happening is the Wolf, which is their group, knocks both of them out, and he escapes with the hostage. Deanna, who was the leader of the Alexandrians prior to Rick's group entering, she ended up dying in a house after a standoff where a tower that was right outside of the wall fell onto the walls and let this huge horde of walkers into the place. And so they all had to take shelter in a house, but on the way there, Deanna was bit, and she ended up dying. But now it left off with the group having to figure out what to do now that all of the zombies are in what used to be their sanctuary.
And what were the conditions after the aftermath?
It was just really bad. Everyone was stuck somewhere, and no one really knows a way out yet. They have to figure that out, and that's where we were left off at the mid-season finale.
Wow, that sounds really good. I'd love to watch it.
Yeah, I'd like to watch Supernatural. I'll watch that if you watch Walking Dead.
Deal.
All right, well, that's all the time we have, so thanks for joining us on The Dish. Good night.